I've got a special guest for you today. Taylor Haley does something with his family and their finances that I've never seen anywhere else. I thought it was such a cool concept that I invited him to be on the show with us to explain exactly what they do, why they do it, and some of the awesome benefits of doing this with your family. So I hope this inspires you to do something new with your family and that you are encouraged by this episode. And without further ado, my interview with Mr. Jonathan Taylor Haley. So Taylor, tell us about the Family Financial Summit, or as you call it, the Team Haley Financial Summit, I believe. Tell us what is a Family Financial Summit?
Well, what it is, every year, and it happens over Christmas break because we're all home together, that we had the Team Haley Financial Summit, and that's where everybody talks about what happened for them in the last year financially. And so then we talk about our goals and we report on how we did on our goals last year. And so it's been a wonderful way to really support each other in finances, because very few people in the world want you to succeed financially.
True.
They want to succeed in extracting more money from you.
Yep.
But this is a place where these folks want you to succeed financially.
That's great. So tell us just a little bit about your family, who's all involved in this, and how did all this come about?
Yep. So we have 3 kids, my wife and I, Cammie, and we were doing a trip across the country. And so we read Dave Ramsey together, and we started on that plan, and that became a regular part of our conversation.
How old were the kids when this happened?
Let's see, we had 2 in high school and one just before college.
Okay.
Yep. So they were still pretty young. Yeah, it might have been earlier than that, because I remember, when we went to the envelope system and counting that out with the kids, and Cam was like, this is way too much work, so we stopped that part of it. But the principles have been really helpful. So yeah.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about how does it exist today? What do you guys talk about? What do you share? What do you hold back? What does the normal flow look like?
Yeah. So everybody prepares a report and a presentation for it. And one of the things I love is you can see everybody's kind of individuality in the way that they prepare their reports.
Sure.
So our middle son, Chet, he's an engineer, and he just loves the down to the penny detail. His spreadsheets are unbelievable.
Sure.
And then our daughter, Jessica, I remember one year, the front page of her report, and we project the reports, so they're computer generated. It's a beautiful thing. And on her front page, she had the emblems of every organization that she gives to, because her giving and generosity is very important. Mm-hmm. And then Hudson, about 2020, he just got slammed in the market. And so he just had a big walrus on his front page, and he had the music going down, down, down to Goblin Town. The corollary to that is 2 years later, when things had recovered, he had his graph of what had happened over the last 2 years, and he shrunk the walrus down, and the walrus was climbing the graph. So they really do express that creativity. But we really get into the details of what our budgets are, what we're spending money on. And, it took me a little while, but this was the first year where I actually shared our net worth with the kids. Because it took a while just to develop that sense of trust and everything else. That's how deep we share in terms of really what's going on financially with each of us. So
is it all the way down to your income and expenses, and also net worth and where it is and all those kind of things? Or all of you share basically all that information?
Yeah, because there's so few places where you can actually share that, where there's a level of trust.
Sure. Yep.
And I know not all families have that level of trust within them, so each family is going to have to judge this is what's appropriate to share, and maybe even grow into that level of trust of how much do I share.
And would you say that this is something that you guys then kind of got deeper and deeper and developed over time, or you were right away from the get-go, hey, we're going to bear all, or is that something that's okay to build into over multiple iterations, or how did that come about?
Yeah, I think we were pretty forthright. I had not shared my net worth before, mine and Cammie's net worth before, but we shared pretty in detail of what was happening, how much, we were saving, what we were investing for retirement, and what our budgets were. Yeah.
And so it sounds like you guys each prepare a report, and then you each have a section where you're all presenting back to the group then? How long are these 1 minute? Are these 20 minutes? How do it depends?
This year, I think we hit a new record. It was 2.5 hours.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, so we really talk about it and go to those places and encourage one another and ask, should you adjust this? And so it's really become a great thing in terms of really being able to go there, not just kind of a crop dusting view.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So is it kind of like a you present and then you guys give some like feedback, ask questions about like, do they go through the whole thing, like financials, goals, all that stuff, and then do some feedback time? Do you guys interrupt and kind of have a collaborative experience all the way through, or how does?
Yeah, there's that flow. There are questions that happen during the presentation, but then there's a longer discussion at the end as people think about things and have questions about things. So
and you just kind of rotate around to each. I suppose you and Cammie probably go together, right? And then each kid then presents on their own for their own.
Yep. And I mean, the other thing that was interesting that you had to be married to be a part of this.
Okay.
So this was the first year that Chet was married, and was inviting somebody new into that.
Okay.
And so so it's growing.
So your kids don't have to be married to be part of it, but they're once their spouse gets married, then they
girlfriends, fiancés. No, they don't count. So.
Not in the family picture. Not in the family. I guess I know a lot of people have kind of hesitations around sharing their financials with their children. I think sometimes there's these generational divides between, hey, the kids shouldn't have to, and I think it's probably appropriate when they're real young, right? Kids shouldn't worry about the parents' finances and whatnot, just let them be kids. But I think some people carry that well into adulthood. And I know for a lot of my clients and for a lot of people, right, at the end, everything usually goes to the kids anyway. So at some point, the kid's going to find out everything anyways. But do you guys have hesitations around sharing too much with your kids now, or is that just something that the benefits have outweighed any potential issues that might cause?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, I think that within our society, financials are just such a secret, and we're so afraid to talk to them. And when we're in our silos, that's when we make our mistakes. And there's not accountability when we're in our silos like that. So for me, part of doing this and being that open is really helping our kids understand that this doesn't have to be a secret. I mean, it's easier for us to talk about sex than it is about our money. And so for me, that was one thing of teaching healthy ways to talk about finances, because there's a lot of unhealthy ways to talk about it too. And I think holding secrets all the way through is not healthy for any of us as well.
Sure.
And then they just have a place where we can really talk about everything. So we haven't held back, and it's been a real growing experience. It's been good.
That's fantastic.
So,
What positive outcome? I mean, beyond sounds like you guys have a lot of fun, in the actual summits themselves. It's developed into this great total experience that sounds like everyone's looking forward to and preparing for and whatnot. What have been some other positive outcomes from doing this throughout the rest of the year or over time, or things that you've seen develop out of this?
Well, one of the best things is that whenever you have a question about something financial, we put on the Team Haley Snapchat, and then you get the responses from everybody. Have you thought about this, or what about this? And I have really been surprised about the learning that I received from our kids' knowledge.
Sure.
I remember talking, Chet put out that they were going to quit paying down their mortgage as much, and they were going to invest. And so we were asking about that, but he got in on an interest rate that's below 3%. So that makes all the sense in the world, but it was able to put those questions out there, and be able to ask about it and have other people who care about you, love you. It's not a lender trying to talk you into something, but these are people who want you to succeed financially. So that's been a beautiful thing.
And it really sounds like all three of your kids are pretty wise with their money. We know one of them, and they're we're very impressed with what they're doing and whatnot. It sounds like all of them have really taken their own personal money management seriously. Is this something that they've all had from a young age, or does this develop over time? And how do you end up with 3 out of 3 for kids that care about their finances?
It hasn't always been that way. So, and I asked Chet if I could tell this story. But when our kids went to college, they participated in paying for college, and we participated.
Sure.
So I was looking at Chet's budget and looking at his spending, and his spending was way out of whack. And so I called him and I said, Chet, I'm beginning to have the feeling that I am more financially committed to your education than you are. And I am happy to come down to your level. So from that started a great conversation. And he did his budget. He had an internship that he was getting paid for, and did a budget. It was a great budget, was living into it. And then I noticed he asked me if I could help him pick up a pair of speakers in the cities that were $600 speakers. And I'm like, Chet, this was not in your plan. What is up with this? And he said, well, I worked overtime, so I still held to my budget, and I worked overtime in order to pay for those speakers. And I'm like, that was awesome. Yep. But then what just made me sick was he was getting paid like $500 to do weddings after that. So he was DJing weddings, and it was just awesome the way that worked out. But it was a great learning experience for the both of us. Yep. And that openness and honesty really helped, rather than me being a frustrated dad, like I'm spending all this money on his education and he's not doing his part. Yep. And then it turned into something beautiful and a great lesson. So, yeah.
Well, it just seems like, and I really think that, throughout all of life, kids, what is the phrase? Like they do more what we do. It's not more thought than taught. I don't remember what the phrase is, but kids will do more what they see us do, right, than what we tell them, and if we don't live that out. Right. And so it would seem to me that part of you guys actually living this out and being, communicative about finances and all that has helped them open up about their finances and share and all learn. And I think there's this great problem. You already alluded to it, right, that we all want our finances to be secret. We all want to pretend like our finances are maybe better than they are, or we don't want to talk about our debt, or we don't want to talk about whatever else. Right. But then when we're all in just these silos, it's very easy to, then all we know is all we know, and we can't benefit from the general shared knowledge of everyone else and the encouragement and I think we all do better when we talk about it more, when we're encouraged to do better, when we're around people who are like-minded and trying to, and maybe I'm sure you guys each have a little bit of your own twists and your own goals and your own things that you want to do, but it's all positive and you guys are all able to encourage each other towards those things, which is fantastic.
Each person is intentional about what they're doing. And it may be different, but there's an intentionality to it and a plan to it. So,
What have you guys talked about? Any, we've talked about estate planning several times on this podcast and the importance of conversations and those kind of things. Have you guys had any of those conversations in terms of like, do they know now like what they're going to get when you and Cam eventually pass away? Have you guys had any of those health conversations towards the end? You guys are pretty young yet and whatnot, but what kind of conversations around those have you guys had?
Well, I mean, we've had great conversations around those, and whether you're young or not, we all know people who passed away when they're young, and it's a tragedy. And what makes it even worse is when people aren't prepared. And so we have talked about, and so they know our will. They actually have copies of it, and they know exactly what we're doing with that. And that will evolve and change over time, and we're going to stay up to date on that. But my real goal was, just because, I work with families who go through these things, and I have seen so many times where people do not understand what the deceased did in their will, and it's very hurtful, whether it's giving somebody more money than another person. And so they live the rest of their life with that question mark, and there's no way to get it answered. And it just taints what had been a wonderful relationship when somebody didn't do that at the end and wasn't open so they could explain themselves. So I just never want my kids to have a question about why did dad or why did mom do this in their estate.
So that's so key too, because when we talk about this, like, when you go and you read that, like for so many people, they don't even get a will till the end. Right. And it's this will, and they open it, and all the information there is a surprise. And I think, I don't know if it's just we're too timid or too scared to like have those conversations, because they can't. I mean, maybe they're tough conversations, and so people don't want to have them face to face, and so like, I'll just let my will tell them what I wanted. Right. That can't possibly be a recipe for great.
Have you ever read one? It's all in legalese.
Doesn't quite have that "I love you" that can accompany a face-to-face conversation.
Well, we did the first time we did a will. We actually brought our kids to the attorney with us, and he just thought that was the weirdest thing.
Oh, that's great. So overall, it sounds like this experience has been a great experience doing the financial stuff. How many of these have you done now then?
7, 8.
Okay, so it's been doing it for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And they keep getting bigger and better, it sounds like, as they go.
They just keep growing in terms of how good they are. And
And I think it'll be exciting to see too then, as your other two kids get married, and then as they have to start having and transition their life to to kids instead of, just
Right.
kind of that young adulthood and whatnot. It'll be interesting to see just how all of that evolves. And it makes me want to, my wife and I do a lot of our own financial, but, once a week we do the budget, once a month we set it out, all these things. But I'm looking forward now to when my kids are a little older. They're, real little now. And so they don't know what money is yet, other than the little coins they find. But I'm excited to do some of these things. And I hope that for you guys too, that this just gives you something to think about, right? That finances don't have to be secret inside of a family, that more sharing seems to have more benefits for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Anything else that you would want to add to your experience with?
No, other than that, it's just been a great experience. And I think our relationships with our kids have grown and levels of trust have grown. Because when you talk about your finances, you're telling somebody, I really trust you. And that's what that communicates to our kids. And it communicates back to me that our kids are willing and open to share with us. So it grows that level of trust.
Yeah. And what could be better than that?
Yep, absolutely.
Excellent. Well, Taylor, appreciate you coming in and sharing with your Family Summit. If you guys have more questions about that, you can reach out, questions@retirementmentorship.com. If I can't answer it, I might involve his help there, and we'll get you a good answer on how maybe you could do this or set this up. And thanks again for inviting me.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
I appreciate it.
If you enjoyed that, you would love being part of our free membership community. It's called Retire Membership, and it has a host of benefits all for free. For example, you can always buy my book, 3D Retirement Income, on Amazon. But if you join us at Retire Membership, we will send you either a hard copy or paperback for free, provide the ebook and the audiobook so that you can listen to it if you don't have time to read it. In addition to that, we'll also provide you with a bunch of content that you can't get anywhere else. For example, we have our quarterly Retire Mentorship magazine, which comes out quarterly and has no ads whatsoever. It's just timely content to help you stay the course. We also have workbooks for our free online workshop to help you get the most out of those, flowcharts to help you make better decisions, and a weekly email to provide timely content that you can unsubscribe from at any time. We never ask for any payment information, and we never share your information with anyone else. We just want to provide timely content and help you stay the course to retire successfully and stay successfully retired. There's no reason to wait, so join us now at retiremembership.com, where you can click in the link in the description and it'll go right there. We can't wait to see you in the community. Cheers. This podcast is educational only and is not investment, tax, or legal advice.